So now that the dash is in, the next step would be to put my gauge bezels in my center console bezel, and then the right side bezel in as well. And before I can do that, I need to hook up the AC vents. There's a AC vent here, there's two in the center console bezel, and there's one over there. And the original plenum had this in there, which is big and bulky. And the original 09 dash actually was flat across the entire top, and it was about a ½ inch higher this way than this new custom dash that I made. ½ inch doesn't sound like much, but it is quite a bit when you're sitting in the driver's seat and you have to look over it. It comes up higher and it just didn't feel as comfortable. So that was one reason I changed the 09 interior and made my own custom interior. The other reason was it basically ran flat across the top, and I wanted to separate the passenger and driver's side and swoop this down in the center to make it look more like the 6970. So by doing that, this top is about a ½ inch lower than the 09, and then that made it tight in here. So my plenum, this is the 09 heater plenum. The floor registers, or the floor heat pipes, work. They go down and out the bottom. The top is too tight to fit in the plastic housing that came with it. I've got enough room in there, but I don't have enough room to put this big bulky piece up in there. So what I did is I cut it apart. And there's the individual pieces that I cut off. And this piece fits on top of the plenum, and the AC comes out there. There's a foam seal pad around the plenum inside there. You can see it. And this piece fits down inside that. So today I'm going to modify this, or I'm going to end up making a completely new one. For right now, I'm cutting it apart, and you can see I just cut the top off. That's how much space I needed for that to go in there. As I said, about a ½ inch. It was too tight. So I cut the tops of those off. Here's the center one. As you can see, they come out more of a rectangular on the front and on the sides as well. And I've got 2-inch aluminum billet style aluminum vents that come through here. So I'm going to use 2-inch flex pipe from those vents. Again, I got 4 of them across here, and I'm going to run them up, and I'm going to modify this to accept the 2-inch on the ends and on the front. So that's the project for today. Don't know if I'll get those bezels in this week or not, but anyway, it's going to take a little bit of time to modify that. I know there's a few guys that keep making comments. I want to see the finished product, but all these little details take time. And once I get that done, it'll start going together a little bit quicker. Okay, so I've been working at trimming these pieces down so that they fit. They're lowered here. They'll fit under the dash now. And as you can see, I've just trimmed them down. I used a little body saw, 10 snips, and then I put them in a belt sander and clean them up, finish them up like that. So I've got that piece fitting really pretty good. right there. For now, what I do is I take some masking tape and just get it laid in place there fairly close. So that way I can put it in the car and make sure that I have the clearance I need. Looks like I'm gonna be good there. So I'll continue on sanding all these pieces down so they all fit nice. Tape them on, put them in the car, make sure everything's gonna clear. Then I'll cut these ends off, flush them up nice, and make a fitting that will go to a 2-inch round on the ends of that. Okay, I've got all 4 pieces glued in there, used hot glue, and then I went around the bottom and put another coat on it just for safety, I guess, seal it up tight. But that's solid. That melded that right together, good and solid. So now what I'll do is I'll make some caps for the ends of this and reduce it down to a 2-inch round flex pipe. It's probably going to be oval coming out of here, but it's going to be equivalent to 2-inch diameter. So I'll make 4 ends for it, and this will be ready to go in as soon as I fasten those in there. Just rolled some pieces of 22 gauge sheet metal in a circle, same size as this, which is my AC duct and my flex pipe. So now I'm going to tack these. Made 4 of them. I'm going to tack that joint right there, that seam, and then I'm going to make a piece of sheet metal this shape, and then I'm going to fit these on there. And I believe they're going to end up being a little bit oblong, but that'll work for my flex pipe. So I get those 4 made up and then decide how I'm going to bond them to this piece. Okay, so I got all my pieces rounded and welded, or made my little duct pieces here. And so next what I did was I cut a piece of plastic to fill in the hole. Rough cut it, it's a little bit big yet. And then I took my duct piece, clamped it in vice grips, and heated it up. I roughed the edges of this. I sanded it with 60 grit on the belt sander there and got it good and rough. Heat this piece up. And hot. I took it and just like a branding iron, pushed it into my plastic there, pushed it in. You can see it's starting to go through. Now let it cool. Once it cools off, I pulled my little plug out, and there it is. It's in there solid. Then I glued that whole piece in. That is really strong now. There's my duct for the front. It goes out the bezel. And I'll put that one on, and I'll make one for each of the sides here. Do the same process. I just had an old piece of plastic. It was actually out of the seat, the back seat. Cut my two pieces out of that. It's nice and thick. That heats up and you can meld it together. So it's working pretty good actually, I think. There you go. It's glued on there already. So now I will hot glue it to this piece and just keep moving forward. It goes like that. Okay, there we go. It's done. I made it it's not nearly as high as what it was. Dropped it about 3/4 of an inch in the front and a half or so in the back. And then I added 4 oval vents. The hot glue looks a little kind of messy. I would sand it, but it's too rubbery. It doesn't sand very well, but it's going to be hidden anyway. And it is solid. None of these are going to come out of there. That's just really, really solid. I melted, when I used the hot glue, I molded these pieces together a little bit too. So I'd be very comfortable with that. I'm going to put it on now. And okay, so I got my hose hooked up. I used hose clamps. Make sure they're good and solid. This is some nice, thick, flexible ducting there. So I got one on each side. I'll hook these up after I get it put in there. Got her in. Pipe's running over to the driver's side here. And see up in there, 2 vents for the center. And then the passenger side is hanging down over there. So it's in there nice and tight. It's in there really nice and tight. And then I put some jute above it as well. You can't see it, I put jute on the bottom side of my dash, and so if it does happen to touch somewhere, hopefully that'll eliminate any squeaks. So, okay, I'm gonna set that center bezel in there, see if I can get my pipes hooked up. Still need to hook all my heater and radio and the other stuff up here, so I don't want to put that in. I don't want to finish that yet because I got to run some other stuff to the firewall for those gauges as well. So I've been getting all my wires, all the leads hooked up to the radio, stereo system, backup camera, all my gauges, fuel pressure gauge, wire harness, the supercharger boost gauge, oil pressure, and then I've got separate leads coming off here, extra wire, so I can run all those through the firewall. I think I've got everything hooked up on the back side of that. I need to hook my 2 vents up yet, and then slide this bezel in place. I'm not going to fasten it yet until I get all of my wiring hooked up, so take it over and install it. Here's the start. So that center bezel's in. It's just laying in there right now. And I'm gonna have to pull the wires through the back side here, fish them back. They're holding it out just a little bit right now, so I decided to go with the GR design in the center, and I ordered a new badge there, a smaller one. I've got it mocked up with paper, and I'm going to offset it a little bit like that's shown, just to give, so I don't have 2 rows of 3 straight in a line. One of the reasons I'm going to go with the GR design is I've got the M-1 COBRA that will go in both door panels. They'll be right in here on a door panel and one on that side. And then of course I've got the one in the back. So I have 3 M-1 COBRAs and then 1 GR design in the center. I get my gauges and everything in yet. That'll be one of the last things. The back, I've got my amplifier mounted over there, and I'm going to start making boxes for my subwoofers. It's going to look pretty good from the back. Okay, so that's the update for this week. Stay tuned for more interior updates and a couple, 3 more weeks of work on the inside, I think, before I'm ready to put the doors back on. So hope you'll stay tuned. Thanks for watching.